Can you imagine abandoning a mansion? If I were lucky enough to live in one, I'd never even think of leaving it behind. Surprisingly, there are quite a few abandoned mansions scattered around the world, and some of them hold unbelievable treasures. These are the most incredible things found in abandoned mansions. Number 15. Rare Lamborghini and Ferrari 308 worth $300,000 in grandmother's garage. Most of us probably find nothing more exciting than old newspapers or dusty cans in our grandparents' garages, but every so often, someone stumbles upon something extraordinary. That's exactly what happened when a cash-strapped American student decided to explore her grandmother's cluttered garage. Beneath layers of dust and forgotten junk, she uncovered not one, but two vintage sports cars. Hidden away for decades were a 1981 Lamborghini Countach and a red Ferrari 308, slightly worse for wear but still incredible finds. Both cars are sought after by collectors, especially the Lamborghini, with its iconic wing doors and classic 80s design. Fans of the car might recognize it from The Wolf of Wall Street, where it was driven by Leonardo DiCaprio. With such a following, it's no surprise these two cars could fetch around $430,000 at auction. Not bad for a little garage treasure hunt. Number 14. Nicolas Cage's stolen comic book. When valuable art or rare collectibles are stolen, you have to wonder where they end up. After all, some things are just too famous to sell without raising suspicion. Back in 1997, actor Nicolas Cage purchased an incredibly rare, mint-condition copy of Action Comics #1, the comic that first introduced Superman to the world. Cage paid around $150,000 at auction, making headlines in the comic book world for owning such a prized piece. However, in 2000, the comic mysteriously vanished from his home in a theft that left everyone baffled. But here's where things take a strange twist. Over a decade later, in 2011, the comic resurfaced, not in some underground auction, but in an abandoned storage locker in the San Fernando Valley. No one knows why the thief abandoned it, but Cage reclaimed the comic and later sold it at auction for an astounding $2.16 million, setting a new record for the highest price ever paid for a comic book. Number 13. Bugatti in the garage. We've already seen how thrilling it can be to uncover hidden treasures in Granny's garage, but what if the same applies to your eccentric old uncle? That was precisely the case for the relatives of reclusive scientist Dr. Harold Carr. While sorting through his belongings after his death, they stumbled upon an astonishing find, a 1937 Bugatti, one of only 17 ever produced, tucked away in a lockup for half a century. This original supercar had been a closely guarded secret, known to only a handful of people. Dr. Carr's garage also housed other classic vehicles, including an Aston Martin and an E-Type Jaguar, any of which would have been remarkable discoveries. However, the Bugatti, specifically a Type 57S Atlante, stole the show. These incredibly rare vintage cars can command millions at auction, making them some of the most expensive ever sold. Dr. Carr's unexpected inheritance turned his nieces and nephews into overnight millionaires, all thanks to a car that had simply been gathering dust for decades. Number 12. A classic painting forgotten in an apartment. When the doors to a long-abandoned Paris apartment were finally opened, it was like stepping into a time capsule. The apartment had been locked away for over 70 years, untouched since its owner, Madame de Florian, left during the onset of World War II in 1939. Strangely, Madame de Florian never returned, although she continued to pay the rent for decades. When her heirs eventually entered the apartment after her death at age 91, they found it frozen in time. Dust-covered antiques and cobwebs filled every room. But among the treasures was something truly remarkable, an unknown oil painting by renowned artist Giovanni Boldini. Boldini, a famous painter of Paris's elite during the Belle Époque, had painted the portrait of Madame de Florian's grandmother, a woman with whom he'd had a romantic affair. Along with the painting, love letters between the two were discovered, further adding to the story's intrigue. The painting later sold at auction for an astonishing $3 million, making it one of the greatest forgotten treasures ever found. Number 11. A ring with Charlotte Bronte's hair found in an attic. In the UK, there's a popular show called Antiques Roadshow, where people bring their attic discoveries to be appraised by experts, hoping for a fortune. Most often, they're politely told that their treasure, like a replica Elizabethan chamber pot, isn't worth much. But every now and then, a real gem is found. One such discovery happened in Wales, where a woman found a silver ring inscribed with a name and date tucked away in her attic. What made it special was the hidden compartment inside the ring, which held a lock of braided hair. While Victorian-era pieces involving hair aren't uncommon, this one was extraordinary. The hair belonged to Charlotte Brontë, the famed author of Jane Eyre. The ring had been made as a remembrance piece after her death and was valued at an impressive $25,000, all because of the priceless connection to Brontë. Before we continue, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Now it's time for the prime topic. If you owned a Bugatti worth nearly $1.5 million, would you just abandon it? Of course not. Yet, that's exactly what happened when one was found in a decaying mansion estate in Russia. The car's owner was rear-ended, and instead of paying for repairs, he simply left it to rot. You'd think someone who can afford a Bugatti could handle the repair costs, right? Maybe he just bought a new one. What do you think? Comment below and share your thoughts. Number 10. Unreleased Jackson 5 tracks found in storage unit. Just when you thought every piece of music history had already been uncovered, a surprising discovery was made in, of all places, a storage locker. This particular locker had once belonged to Michael Jackson's father, Joe Jackson. Inside, someone found a treasure trove of 250 previously unreleased tracks featuring none other than the king of pop himself, recorded during a period when Michael was between contracts and couldn't release the songs under any label. These forgotten recordings, which include rumored duets with legends like Tina Turner, had been sitting untouched for years. That is, until someone purchased the storage unit blind, only to find themselves in possession of a massive musical haul. Of course, things quickly got complicated, with multiple parties, including members of the Jackson family, laying claim to the rights of the long-lost music. Whether these tracks will ever see the light of day remains a mystery, but one thing's for sure, this is a find that could shake up the music world. Number 9. A treasure trove of rare coins found in a dilapidated home. Imagine stumbling upon walls stuffed with coins, pouring out like you hit the jackpot on a slot machine. That's exactly what happened in Winder, Pennsylvania, when a treasure hunter went looking for a rumored stash in a decaying old house. Locals had long believed that a fortune in coins was hidden somewhere inside the dilapidated home. When the family who owned the property called in an antiques dealer to assess what might be left behind, he found himself suddenly surrounded by a flood of coins, many of them rare and potentially worth up to $200,000. The house, abandoned for nearly 20 years, had finally revealed its long-lost treasure. Number 8. Sports cards left in an old Detroit building. In 2015, urban explorers made an unexpected discovery in an abandoned building in Detroit, a massive stockpile of sports cards. The cards, featuring athletes from the 1980s and 1990s, were stacked in boxes and pallets, creating an enormous pile that spanned multiple sports. While the UK's Daily Mail reported it as $1 million find, the reality was a bit more disappointing. Upon closer inspection, it became clear that these cards were mass-produced and not particularly rare or valuable. Despite the hype, the sheer volume of cards was more impressive than their actual worth. Still, the sight of these forgotten cards, piled high in a crumbling Detroit warehouse, serves as a striking symbol of the city's post-industrial decline, especially after the 2008 crash when many businesses packed up and left behind nothing but abandoned relics like this one. Number 7. Professional mover finds $16,500 in rare antiquities in the trash. Making a living can lead to unexpected discoveries, and this story exemplifies that perfectly. A professional mover was hired to clear out the possessions of an artist and their partner after their passing. A nonprofit foundation was tasked with handling the estate, and people had sifted through the belongings for valuables before calling in the mover to dispose of what they believed was trash. Years later, while cleaning out a barrel he had taken from the property, he was astonished to find it packed with ancient artifacts. Among the assortment of Mayan pottery, jugs, bowls, and figurines, he discovered items dating back to between 300 BC and 500 BC, collectively valued at around $16,500. While this discovery would likely frustrate the folks at the foundation, it's a classic case of one man's trash being another man's treasure. Number 6. Norman Rockwell painting found behind a fake wall. Imagine the thrill of discovering a painting by one of the greatest 20th century artists hidden behind a wall in your home. This incredible find not only thrilled its new owner but also fetched a tidy sum at auction. American illustrator Norman Rockwell, renowned for his heartwarming depictions of family life, created the beloved painting Breaking Home Ties in 1954. This piece even ranked as the second most popular cover of the Saturday Evening Post throughout its long history. The original painting was sold by Rockwell to his neighbor in 1960 for $900. The neighbor then made a copy and concealed the original behind a wall in his home. Experts noticed inconsistencies in the copy, initially suspecting it had been poorly restored. This clever switcheroo remained undiscovered until after the neighbor's passing, when his son found an unusual wall panel. Upon removing it, he revealed the original Rockwell in all its glory. The painting ultimately sold at auction for a staggering $15.4 million, not too shabby at all. Number 5. The Thornbury Hoard, third largest find in Britain. When a discovery is so significant it earns a name, including the word hoard, you know it's something remarkable. In 2004, Ken Allen was digging in his garden in the UK, preparing to install a water feature, when he unearthed not just shards of pottery but heaps of coins. As he continued digging, the ground revealed more and more coins, culminating in a 63-pound pile. This wasn't just a stash of loose change. Ken had uncovered 11,460 ancient Roman coins dating from 260 AD to 348 AD. Authorities deemed it a treasure, and it was subsequently placed in a museum. The collection was valued at nearly $63,000. Excuse me for a moment, I suddenly feel the urge to dig up my garden. Number 4. Rolls of cash left in a house. Urban explorers typically embark on their adventures seeking the thrill of discovering forgotten places ravaged by time, rather than treasure. So, when an explorer in Ontario, Canada, armed only with a camera and a sense of adventure, entered a derelict house, he was in for quite a surprise. Initially, his photographs captured the usual sights of an abandoned home: dusty, broken items, overturned furniture, and the unmistakable scent of rodents, but nothing out of the ordinary. That was until he stumbled upon a bag stuffed with rolls of cash, almost $7,000 in total. True to the spirit of urban exploration, he didn't keep the money for himself. Instead, he used clues he found within the house to track down the family of the previous owners, returning every penny to them. The motto of urban explorers rings true: take only photographs, leave only footprints. Number 3. Posters under the floorboards. Some people have a peculiar sense of what constitutes good storage, and this was certainly the case for generations of folks who unknowingly stomped on a treasure trove of Hollywood history beneath the linoleum of an old house in southern Pennsylvania. During a home renovation, a surprised family decided to lift the floorboards, only to unveil a stunning collection of pristine 1930s movie theater posters. Among the gems discovered were posters for classic films like Red-Headed Woman, starring Jean Harlow, and an early Tarzan film. These rare finds sent movie history enthusiasts racing to their checkbooks when the posters were put up for auction. One single poster alone fetched an astonishing $78,000. While hiding items under linoleum may not have been a common practice back in the day, you can bet there are plenty of curious individuals peeling back their floors to check for hidden treasures. Number 2. Paintings in the garage. It sounds like the premise of a captivating movie. When artist Arthur Panagian passed away, he left behind strict instructions for his family to dispose of all his journals and thousands of paintings in the local landfill. However, his final wishes were never carried out, and that oversight has turned the new owners of a Long Island garage into extraordinarily wealthy individuals. The two investors purchased the collection for a mere $2,500, a laughably low price for what would soon be revealed as a treasure trove valued at an astonishing $30 million. It raises the question of whether these paintings, meant to be destroyed, might be haunted, perhaps more dangerous than they initially appear. Ignoring the artist's explicit instructions, the investors have profited immensely from the work of a man who remained unknown during his lifetime. It's a bittersweet irony. While they revel in their newfound wealth, it still sucks to be him. Number 1. Gold bars in the garden. Imagine digging in your garden and striking gold, literally. That's precisely what happened to a couple in Rouen, France, who unearthed a remarkable stack of gold ingots. After purchasing their home in 2002, they found 6 gold bars in 2009 and an additional 22 bars in 2013, totaling a dazzling value of around $800,000. While this discovery sounds unbelievable, the legalities surrounding treasure in France are notoriously murky. Despite the couple claiming they had notified the appropriate authorities and completed all necessary paperwork, they caught the attention of the prosecutor's office, not the kind of attention anyone wants. To complicate matters further, the previous owners of the home stepped forward, asserting their claim to the gold. After a lengthy legal battle, the courts determined that the previous owners had a right to some of the bars, forcing the current homeowners to return the gold. Much of the confusion stemmed from how treasure is defined legally. It's a bit odd, but I'd certainly notice if I misplaced a few gold bars before moving, wouldn't you? It's amazing what people have lost over the years, and I wonder what else is still out there waiting to be discovered. Where do you stand on the who owns what debate? Are you a finders keepers type, or do you prefer complicated paperwork and legal battles? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you never miss an update. Check out the other cool stuff on the screen, and I'll see you next time.